Hey everyone, welcome to part, I think 6 or 7? I think it's 6. Let me actually check real quick. Part 6, sorry. Um, part 6 is a little bit late. As you can see on the clock, it is 10:59 or 11 p.m. where I am at. So anyways, I was thinking of doing another tutorial, and this time I'm going to not steer away. I'm more leaning towards actually diving straight into modeling, because there's no way to really start to slowly teach you. The way I learned is literally I had to jump right into modeling and actually learn these things by, one, Googling, two, just troubleshooting myself, and three, just finding workarounds for the time being, because I was on a clock, because this was architecture school, so I couldn't spend forever trying to figure things out, so I literally had to kind of improvise and make things work. But I'm not here to show you how to improvise. I'm going to show you the way I model, my workflow, how I think people should model, obviously personal opinion, and show you guys that. So this is a site I was given in my third year studio. It was the first semester, first quarter. We were just given just a kind of a sloped site, and then this is actually water. It fills up all the way to here, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. There's nothing else special about this site. It's literally just kind of a slope and riverbed. That's literally it. There's nothing special about the site or anything like that. So I'm just going to articulate an idea. So the program for this was a logging pavilion. So I'm just going to knock off the logging part and just say as a pavilion space near the water, kind of like a deck space. Well, not deck space, but like a overhang. That's what I think of a pavilion, just kind of a place where people can rest and watch and look at the nice view of the water, because we are next to the water, so that's an advantage of something based on the site. So let's get into the modeling. So as you can see, now this is an important one. I had the site, and if you see it, the site is completely solid, and we can check by doing show edges, and we have 18 edges total, no naked edges, no non-manifold, so I know it is completely solid. Now, I like to start with something that will help me design. So I'm going to start with usually a type of gridding system. Now, usually, I would use Grasshopper for this because it's a little easier. But since this is a Rhino tutorial, I'm going to try my best to use Rhino. There are sometimes where it's completely illogical not to use Rhino. I will not use Rhino, or I'll use Grasshopper, but very, very minimally, and I'll show you why I'm using it. Anyways, so I literally just went in top view and drew the profile, a rectangle profile out of this shape. So literally I am now going to actually take this curve and do explode. So now it's separated into 1, 2, 3, 4 segments. What I'm going to do with this is I am going to make it a 10 by 10 grid. So I'm going to divide the curve up into 10. And the same thing here. And divide by 10, hit enter. So there's a command called divide, and it will divide the curve by how many points you want. The curve is actually still one curve. It's just divided by points to get around, so it's not splitting it by 10. If that's what you're intending to do, that's not what it is. It just literally draws points to a division point of 10. So now what we can do is literally just draw a line, and yeah, we can just now do copy. Now the reason why I would do this in Grasshopper is because I can easily manipulate the grid, and maybe I want more points, maybe I want more things. It's just easier in there sometimes. But anyways, since this is a Rhino tutorial, I'm going to try my best. I'm just going to tell you as a beginner, once you get very comfortable with Rhino and Grasshopper, and once you get introduced to Grasshopper and you really understand it, you really can't go back. Like, you see things so much more efficiently when you use Grasshopper. Like, when you do something in Rhino, you're like, man, I could do that so much easier in Grasshopper. So, and I'm going to delete that curve. So yeah, now I have my grid. And you're wondering, hey, why did you draw this grid? And I will show you that soon. So I have all these points. I usually get rid of them at the end. So you can actually do cell points or cell points, and it selects all the points, and then click the delete button, or the delete button. Sorry, I hit the backspace, which is ironically not the same thing. I don't know why, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to take this this section of it and actually just start to, I'll highlight all this. I'm going to go in top view and actually type in the command called project. And this will project all the curves onto the solid I have here. So it's saying select surface or polysurface and meshes to project onto. So this one, and now I projected it. So you highlight the curve, type project, and then click the thing you want projected. Now as you can see, we can now utilize our layers, and I'm going to hide this grid and make it in layer 1. And I'm going to name this. To name it, you literally just double click on the layer, so you double click, and then I'm going to type it grid. And then I'm going to hide it because I don't need it. And I'm going to lock it just to make sure. So if you lock it, you can't manipulate the geometry. As you can see, I can't even select it. So I just hide it and lock it just to make sure. Now, as you can see, if I do hide for this as well, you can see it kind of wrapped around, which I really don't want. I want it to be more of a cohesive. I want it to be just on the top. So I'm going to go to the left-hand side, and I'm going to do something called, I'm going to highlight it, but you see they're still joined. So I'm going to do something called explode. So like we did in the last part, we're just going to click explode, or actually explode, and now I can actually highlight all that and delete it. Now it's all on the top. Then I can click join. Now I think this should be joined up. Yep, okay, cool. So now that's all good, and now we can hit show, and now it's perfectly on there. So now that we have our grid, I'm going to work with this as a way of manipulating the site. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw straight onto this grid, just kind of what I think the pavilion would look like. So I'm going to try to work with something a little simpler. Let me think. I'm probably just going to, maybe I could use these as like blocks so I can extrude certain areas, but I think that would be very difficult without using Grasshopper, so I'm not going to do that. With Grasshopper, man, I'm going to keep mentioning it, but I really like that I really like that extension. So, without going too simple, I'm definitely going to do something. I'm going to draw kind of what I think will look like. So I'm going to the top view and using interpret curve. And I'm definitely going to start actually in the water. And actually start to draw my way up this pavilion. So I'm actually going to angle it. It's not going to be completely symmetrical. It's going to be from the side. So that's how I'm thinking of it. Because I'm thinking of it as a wall and then some overhang as well. So I have this curve. I'm actually going to lock this right now. So if you type in lock, it'll actually take the it'll basically do the same thing as what I did here when I press the lock. So I can't manipulate the ground. I will later, but just for right now, I'm going to keep it like this. And now I'm going to probably take, I'm definitely going to try to, I'm going to draw a front profile of what this would look like. So as you can see, I'm working with curves right now. And now, actually left, sorry. And now I'm going to work with, I'm going to just draw arbitrary. This part doesn't matter because I'm going to now rotate to what I like it to be, maybe here. And as you see, I'm starting with curves first. I'm not even doing any legit geometry yet. I'm just doing curves. And I'm actually going to probably put this somewhere near here. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go this way. Actually, I kind of like it. I want this to go downwards. Maybe I want it something like that. So now if we take the lines, we can actually use a command called loft, which we used. And we can see what that does. And we're like, that's not really what I want. I kind of like this condition right here, where it kind of overhangs and makes its own shading, but this is a little funky. I don't like that. I want it more, what's it called? The other way. So I want it lofted like this. Maybe if I do loft, let's try doing aligned curves. Only thing about loft I don't like is you can't change the order, and I don't know why. I think you can, but I have not figured that out yet. Maybe if I do this, I can do loft, and then this, or not that, I meant loft like that. And that will create the condition I'd want, but that's not exactly what I would want, so I'm going to, well, this one's an extrusion, so I'm going to change this up a little bit. This one's going to go down to the ground. And then, but you can see how convenient the gumball is. You can literally control these points so easily. Loft. Let's try loft one more time. And that looks better. But as you can see, we have this weird twist. And I'm like, what is this? It's like a seashell, actually, now I think about it. But you're like, what is this? So right now it's reading, instead of these 2 points to these, or not these two, this point to this point, it's reading this point to this point. So all I do is click Align Curves, and literally click this, and it'll realign it. And now we have to do the same thing for this, and realign it. And now that looks much better. That doesn't look crazy. So yeah, and now we go back to this, and then we do refit. Yep, that looks fine, and we click OK. So now we have our surface. And I actually don't like that sharpness. It just looks so awkward. Like, why is it this sharp? So I'm actually going to kind of move that there, and then move this curve point up to here. And then now, let's try that again. Loft. Loft. Let's try it this way. So right now it's lofting like that, which I don't want. I can do that, and then do that, or not, and do that. Let's try that. I'm trying to think, how can I switch the direction of, because I would usually use this in Grasshopper and it would loft in a particular order. I'm not too sure why it's doing this. Usually I don't do something this intense. I will be right back to, no, I think I should be fine. Let me try something. So I'm not perfect, as you guys know. I'm really not, but so that controls it that way. So what if I loft it that way? Okay, that made no sense. I don't know why it's working now, but now as you can see, we have that same case again, where we have the curve being swapped again. So let's do that again. Let's just click that and click that. Yeah, it looks better. So now we have this crazy geometry going on here. Now why is this here? Oh my god. No. Okay. Alright, so we gotta change one of these curves. It's not right. Okay. Alright. I don't know why my rotate's not working. Okay, cool. Now let's try loft again. Alright. Align curves. And also, one more thing I want to mention before I continue modeling. I am going to make mistakes. That's just how modeling is. I'm not perfect, so I'm not going to know every single thing. And I like to show my mistakes. I like to show what's not working, how it doesn't work, what not to do. I mean, at the end of the resolution, I should figure out what works, but at the same time, I really try to strive for showing troubleshooting, because I feel like a lot of modelers out there like to not show that because it doesn't look good, and I disagree with that. So I'm going to show all my mistakes I make. If you look at any of my grasshopper tutorials, I show all my mistakes. There are so many of them. So I'm going to show my mistakes when I model in Rhino as well. It's the same principle. So now we have our surface, and we're like, that looks pretty good. I actually do kind of like that. I like this overhang. So what I'm going to do is, in real life, it's going to be somewhat, I want a thickness to it. So I'm going to actually just give it a bit of a thickness. Do offset surface. And we basically just do offset, and it will say select object to flip direction. Basically right now the arrows are going to offset this way. So if you're fine with that, then all you have to do is change the distance. So the distance right now is, I think, at 1 foot. So I'm going to change it to 8 inches. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then let the surface offset. I don't know if 8 inches is a ton. I don't think it is. But so now we added some thickness to this model. And as you can see, it's still solid. So now that we have our model, a nice little surface done here, it's not even a surface anymore, it's now a poly surface. We can now start to articulate that by using some Boolean commands, or actually start to, to model a little bit more in kind of rigidity of this. So how are we going to, let me see how I can do this, because I'm thinking what to do next, because I just drew like a little partie of it, a little surface. I'm going to, one thing I forgot to do is draw the water. So I'm going to do a box. I'm going to just draw the water. And I'm going to put this as purple and name it water. Water and lock. Alright, cool. So now I have my surface, or my poly surface done, and now I want some geometry carved out of this, just to show kind of sunlight piercing through this. I don't want it to be completely dark, because if I turn on rendered, it won't really look very nice. Oh, it looks pretty nice actually. Looks like a blanket. I'm going to show some protrusion through it, or holes if you want to be a little more brute about it. And actually put some holes in this in order for some light to go through it in certain areas. So let's say I want this area to be where the seating is at, near here. So they're going to be actually gridded to this, just to make it a little more accurate. And then the holes are going to be a little smaller. Medium one. Actually, that one's basically the same size, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. Cool. And actually, this one's going to be bigger. As you see how nice it is, where you can hold shift and use gumball and just kind of easily like, I don't like that, and then fix it. That's the thing I love about gumball. So now let's take our circles, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all 3 of them and extrude them. And just it has to be above this surface, so it doesn't even have to be solid either. So what I'm going to do is do a Boolean split. So track surfaces or poly surface to split, which will be this, and select cutting surfaces, which will be these 3, and then hit enter. And that should do it, I think. Yep, okay, cool. So I'm going to delete these. We don't need these anymore. This and this. So you can see now we have our light going through it. If you want these to be glass, what you can do actually take these. You can take these and actually just keep them as glass. So I'm going to highlight them, put it on layer 3, name it glass. So now we have glass on here, and now the water is definitely not going to drip down into there. So now we're going to put some seating here, kind of to, not extrapolate, just to show some, not seating, but like kind of platforms in order to quote-unquote stabilize it. So I extruded this down, and now I'm going to type in here cap. So I capped it. I'm actually going to move this up a tiny bit so it looks like that. So it's peeking out and going down into here. And then same thing for here. I'm going to extrude. Just architecturally, this is what I would do, just to kind of emphasize this hole I made. So these aren't going to be seatings. These are just going to be kind of sculptural. I'm going to cap these two. Cap them. Cap them. Cap them. Okay. I'm going to unlock them. And I'm actually going to carve into the ground. So I'm going to do a Boolean difference. And this is the beauty of making sure your model is solid, because you can literally just carve into this. I'm thinking if I should carve into the ground or let the ground carve it. I'm probably going to carve into the ground just to show that this is more dominant than the ground, and the ground is not defining my decisions to an extent. So select surfaces or polysters to subtract from this, and then subtract with this. As you can see, that's the beauty of it. You can literally just carve straight into the ground and nothing quote unquote bad will happen. Same thing for this. Subtract from, subtract with, subtract. Actually, what I want to do is I'm actually going to, where's the curve? I'm actually going to extrude a dummy one for right now. Just this kind of one that I'm going to delete later. Do a Boolean. Actually, then I'll cap it. Then I'll do a Boolean difference. Subtract from this, subtract with this. And then now I'm going to delete this, and now I have this lip into the ground, which is what I want. I don't know if this is gridded. And now I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm actually going to sink these into the ground a little bit. I want these all to be not submerged, just into the ground a little bit. Now I can do a Boolean difference again, subtract from my ground, and then with these two. And I'm actually going to do cell curve and put all my working curves into here. So hide that. And now we have our semi nice. And the reason why I didn't Boolean this out, when you render, you want this to interfere with the water, because it is going into the water, so you're gonna see it no matter what. So yeah, that's why I'm doing that. I'm just gonna leave that there, and I'm going to now. I think that's pretty good for right now. I am pretty happy with that. So yeah, this is just an example of how. This is just a quick demo of how I would model in Rhino. This is just to show. So if I turn this on in render view, you can see a little bit of how it works. It's actually pretty good. So if I rendered that view, that would look beautiful. And we're not going to get into rendering in this, but I would look awesome. Literally, if I had some nice wood kind of panelized around here and some glass, that would look nice. And then these would be concrete platforms with some grass and some people. That would look pretty good, actually. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this tutorial. This is just modeling walkthrough part 1. This is basically a recap of all 5 parts, just to show what you learned, and then maybe you learned a little bit extra because I showed you how to use loft properly, and Boolean split. I did some, can't think what else I did. I did extrusions, I did project, I did circle. I mean, that's geometry based, but anyways, I think that's important. I showed you a little bit of how I use my layers. They're very important, so I can keep these locked too. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. I'm not too sure what's going to be on, but I'm definitely, let me think. Maybe it's probably going to be on, it's more going to be on surface manipulation, just to show you guys that. I'm going to dive deeper into a little bit on surfaces, and a little bit more advanced stuff since we are moving towards that route. So yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching. You guys have a great day.